Let's start by deleting these two tracks so that we're left with one MIDI and one audio track. Let's navigate to Packs, Core Library, Samples, Drums, Kicks. Let's zoom right in here. If we drag a sample onto an audio track, we can duplicate it, adjust the loop brace, turn on a loop switch, and we've got a beat. On a MIDI track, make sure Clip Device View is on and the device tab is selected, and then drag a sample onto it. Ableton Live will create a sampler and put the sample into it and spread it across all the notes. Make sure this track is armed by clicking on this arm button, and also activate this switch so that we can use the computer keyboard to play notes onto a MIDI track. Now, if we press these buttons, they will be the equivalent to these keys on a MIDI keyboard. Since this is a kick drum, we only need C3, or the letter A on a computer keyboard. Every time we press it, the sampler is triggered. Click and drag one measure or one bar's length of time on a MIDI track, then hit Shift and Command to create a MIDI clip. In the MIDI clip view, make sure that this icon is on, and we can audition a sampler's notes by clicking on the piano roll. Hold down the left mouse button and move it left and right to zoom, and up and down to move the piano roll. This one bar clip is divided into a grid of 64. Right click on the clip view and from the fixed grid menu select an eighth. Now the bar is divided into eighths. Press B on the keyboard to activate draw mode and draw a note in every fourth measure of the bar. If you make a mistake, click on the note to delete it. Notice the audio track is slightly louder than the MIDI, so let's turn it down by about 12 dB. Click on the track volume slider and type -12. You can make changes to the notes while it's running, and you can also adjust the grid division. A handy little tip here, as you're drawing a note, keep the mouse button pressed and drag up and down to change the velocity. I'll discuss velocity in more detail, but for now just think of it as how hard you're hitting the instrument. Once you change the velocity, it will stay at that level until you change it again. If we want more drum hits, we can just repeat this process, or we can summon an instrument rack. Let's navigate to Core Library, Drums. Unlike samples, which are pre-recorded pieces of audio, these are racks of instruments, and more specifically in this folder, they are drum racks or drum kits. A preview audio clip has been created using each of these kits, and as we scroll through them, we are auditioning that audio clip. Drag and drop a kit into the main window below the other tracks. In the clip device view, make sure that the device tab is selected. A drum rack consists of 128 pads. The pad overview highlights the currently selected set of 16 pads. Click on this set and use the computer keyboard's up and down arrows to shift to the next or previous set. If the squares are grey, it means that there are no instruments inside the corresponding pad. As we click on a pad, its corresponding instrument will be displayed to the right. And we can preview the pad with these preview buttons, or if the computer MIDI keyboard is active, we can use the computer keyboard as before. If I press the A key on my keyboard, I'm currently triggering C1, which is assigned to the kick pad. If an instrument is assigned to a pad, you will hear it and also see it in the overview. To move up or down an octave, use the Z and X keys. So, if A is C1 and I press X, A becomes C2. If we create a MIDI clip and go into the clip view, we can see all the pads next to the corresponding piano roll notes, and we can start to draw patterns. We can now develop ideas, or if we want to hear this pattern on a different drum kit, we can hit this hot swap button and then double click on any of the drum kits. Experiment with different patterns and don't forget to download my project file. And in the next video, we'll be making a melody using a MIDI instrument.